Mouse Trouble News fans, as many of you have heard, a lot of people are now starting to leave the Al Jazeera news network in protest. Now, just recently, 22 people jumped ship from the Qatari news agency over what they call biased coverage. Anchor Karim Mahmoud quit because he said that coverage in Egypt was highly favoring the Muslim Brotherhood over the military coup, and that in the past they have always given preferential treatment to the Muslim Brotherhood rather than anything else. In other words, he's saying that they're not being objective and they're completely taking the side of the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, in an interview with the newspaper Cairo Scene, he gave his reasons. The coverage over the last few weeks was the tipping point, especially the airing of extreme speeches over the last few days, which have added to the crisis Egypt is seeing right now. There have been strong insistence of airing unacceptable statements by some parties, as well as giving much more space and airtime to one group over another. Daily News Egypt is also saying that 2 anchors recently jumped ship from the station, including the 10-year veteran Hagag Salama, who reportedly told the Cairo-based TV station that Al Jazeera had become an enemy of Egypt. That's a very serious accusation. If the coverage is so biased that this person feels that Al Jazeera is now an enemy of the Egyptian people, that's a hell of an indicting statement, and it's very serious. Now, for some time, it's been suspected that Al Jazeera has been giving preferential treatment to the Muslim Brotherhood, and many of us in the anti-imperialist circles have been seeing this as a tremendous shift in Al Jazeera towards U.S. interests, which previously in the past they have not done. They've actually remained fairly neutral and were regarded as a fairly good news source. Now, when the whole Egyptian situation began, Al Jazeera was actually quite good in its coverage. It was really fair, and it was actually really positive, and was one of the main news sources that I went to when covering the entire situation, particularly their live 24-hour feed. But around when Gaddafi was toppled by NATO forces, or when NATO forces began to facilitate the overthrow of Gaddafi through the use of fake rebels, the same thing they're doing to Syria now, all of a sudden that coverage, that great objective coverage and in-depth coverage, started to change. They became adamantly anti-Gaddafi and completely followed the line of U.S. interests. And that's when I think that shift really started to begin. This definitely does demonstrate that the contradictions of imperialism are starting to have an effect on foreign media as well. There are many organizations that we know to be just completely within the capitalist class. I mean, even Al Jazeera, at its best, was still a puppet of the ruling class, because the ruling class owns them. However, they were somewhat less objective when it came to international matters, particularly when it came to the Middle East, and were highly respected. That image is dying and is just completely falling by the wayside. And I cannot help but think that the international situation is having an impact on it. I think Al Jazeera is looking to get its foot into the international news arena, rather than just being, a primary news source in the Middle East and then being a secondary or an optional channel that people can have in the rest of the world. I think what they're trying to do here, this is just my opinion, that they're trying to break into the mainstream media of North America, Europe primarily, in order to get their image out there and obviously to sell. And if you want to sell in their market, you have to give them what they want. For you to get in, for you to get a license, and you have to back U.S. interests. And I think Al Jazeera is succumbing to that right now, which is very unfortunate, because Al Jazeera was actually a really good news source and it's just tremendously fallen. And I think that really says something about a network when high profile people like 10-year veterans, people who were mainstays in their broadcasting, all of a sudden start jumping ship over what they call biased coverage. I mean, that kind of thing is almost unheard of here. 1 or 2 people that leave disgruntled, but people leaving en masse like that, 22 people, that's really saying something. So I think we're definitely starting to see a shift in the foreign media as imperialism continues to have the effect that it's been bringing to the Middle East in the last couple of years.